He is not only a Heisman Trophy winner, he's a Heisman Trophy winner and a Super Bowl most valuable player as well. I'm sorry, Brockman. I know it was against your Patriots back in the day.
He had a great game.
He certainly did for the Green Bay Packers, and he has now hit it big, if you will, as an analyst for ESPN's College Game Day, which means he's going to be part of the draft coverage for ESPN. Desmond Howard here on the program. How are you, Des?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm going to have to call on you to help me out with some of this draft coverage stuff. I mean, I know the college players, but I'm not sure about all the needs of these NFL teams. So I'm going to have to lean on you for that.
You know, Des, you know how much I love you. I tell you that every time. The amount of excitement you gave me when you were wearing the maize and blue is immeasurable. I have rooted for you every step of the way. But on that day, draft day, you know, I'm going to be like Ray Lewis coming out of the tunnel with the smoke. I mean, we're kind of competitors that day, Des. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, understood.
Business is business.
Guy. You're still my favorite.
Always.
But okay, I got you.
Always. But
yes,
I'm excited.
Sir.
I'm excited for you for that. We'll get to that in a second. But
okay.
All right, let's get to the business first here. Do you agree with the way that the college football playoff rankings were ordered, 1 through, let's say, 8, Desmond?
Yes, I didn't have a problem whatsoever. I didn't think there was an argument for anything outside of the way that they ranked the teams. I know people talked about probably the Buckeyes being ranked a little higher than the Sooners. I don't see how people could rationally think that unless you're just a person who subscribes to knee-jerk reactions and you become a prisoner of the moment, then I get it. But if you really look at the body of work throughout a season, then it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to even consider ranking Ohio State over Oklahoma.
So walk me through the nuts and bolts of that take, Des.
Well, it's just what you see. I mean, first and foremost, the eye test. I mean, before that game, I mean, you look at the Buckeyes, and if you look at the performance against the Wolverines as being who they are, then they've underperformed pretty much the whole year, meaning they've won games. You know, they came out on top in the score when the final score was posted. But as far as what they looked like in those games, I mean, they struggled. They should have lost against Maryland. They struggled against Nebraska. They struggled against, let me see, who else? They struggled against Penn State. Penn State should have won that game. I mean, they had an inexplicable call on 4th and 5 that still baffles everyone who watched that game. And you just go down the line. So in my opinion, if you're looking at the performance on the field, not just the record, then they've underperformed their talent level that they showed us that Saturday. Or Saturday was just a game they just played above their heads. You don't know until they take the field again. And then how about the Purdue game? I mean, come on. I mean, you lose by, what 4 touchdowns to a Purdue team? So, and then you look at Texas. I mean, you look at Oklahoma, and their only loss was a shootout by 3 points to a ranked Texas team. So I don't even see where the comparisons are equal when you look at the performances on the field. When Oklahoma beat a team during the season, after that game, they didn't just beat them, you know, in the scores department. They beat these teams where you understood Oklahoma was the best team on the field that day. When Ohio State beat Michigan State, when they beat Nebraska, Maryland, you didn't walk away thinking, okay, the Buckeyes are the best team on the field. The only time in my opinion, the only time you really walked away thinking that was last week when they played Michigan. So I don't see where it's even comparable where you would try to compare Ohio State, especially their body of work, to Oklahoma's body of work so far this season.
So then let's go full hypothetical here, starting from the top. Alabama blows out Georgia and everybody else wins. Who do you put in? Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you put in Oklahoma. No, I don't even think there's a discussion, but you know, I'm sure other people would beg to differ.
It's Georgia. So Georgia beats Alabama, shocks the world. Does Alabama with one loss regardless of how it happened, if it was a 2-touchdown, if it was a reverse result, but the same type game as the national championship game, does a one-loss Alabama team get in over an Ohio State and Oklahoma conference champion?
Rich, if your thought process during the season was Alabama's the top team in the country, they're the number one team in the country, right? One game, one loss should not make you think, okay, they're not even a top 4 team. Like, that's just illogical. So in my opinion, if you're supposed to put in the best 4 teams, because we always argue, are we trying to put in the best 4 teams or the most deserving 4 teams? So if the argument is for the best 4 teams, and for 12 or however many weeks, Alabama has been, in your mind, the best team, then they can't fall out of the top 4 just from one loss. So in my opinion, they're still, even if they lose, they're still one of the best 4 teams in college football. So you still have, in my opinion, you still put them in.
So Buckeye fans, Desmond Howard, should wake up noon Eastern on ABC and say, hook 'em horns, hook 'em, right? and then tune into CBS with Nestler, who's going to be on the show on Friday, and say, roll tide, okay?
Right.
And that's the way they get in as the 4th seed should they beat Northwestern, correct?
Ohio State? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think. But the committee will have to make that. It'll be a tough decision, but they will have to, like you said, they will have to roll Northwestern. I was talking to a friend of mine. I'm like, pretty much the media is telling Ohio State and telling Oklahoma, you don't have to win these games. You have to go out and blow out your opponent in these games Saturday. You have to go out and manhandle Texas. I'm talking about you need to not just go out there and try to get a victory. You need to go out there and manhandle. And telling Ohio State the same thing. Just a victory, hey, maybe a 3 or 6 point victory over Northwestern ain't going to cut it, Urban. You got to go out there and beat them by 3 touchdowns, by 4 touchdowns in a very impressive fashion. So that's what the media is telling these guys. And then Ohio State, they have an advantage, Rich, because obviously they play the 8:00 game. So at that point, they'll know what took place between Oklahoma and Texas, and now they know what they have to go out there and do against Northwestern. So it's really interesting how this thing is unfolding.
Yeah, but if roll tide happens and Oklahoma gets hooked again, how does Ohio State not make it 4 regardless of the final score over Northwestern? How does that not happen? Then who would make it instead of them under that scenario?
You said
if Alabama wins.
Alabama wins, right.
So Georgia's got 2 losses, right? And then Oklahoma loses. Doesn't Ohio State just need to win by 1 single point in order to get in?
That's to me, going to be the toughest.
Because UCF could
because of the body of work.
Because UCF could sneak in as an undefeated team despite not having their starting quarterback.
And you just hit on a very important point. Without Milton McKenzie, it's going to be tough for them to put UCF in there because that's going to be a determining factor. Now, we need to see how UCF looks against Memphis, too. They have to go out and play convincingly against Memphis because that was a shootout that they were in trouble in for, 3.5 quarters against Memphis, and that's when they did have their starting quarterback. So it's not that UCF is just going to walk in there and roll over Memphis come Saturday either. So that's another one to keep an eye on, too.
All right, so I'm building up to this moment here, Desmond. I've been building up this entire time.
Okay.
Alabama wins. Roll tide. Roll tide. Tide rolls. Oklahoma. The Horns hook them. They're out again. Texas gets them. Are you telling me doesn't take much for me to root against Ohio State and the fact that I did go to Northwestern and got my graduate degree from there, so I do have a rooting interest in that regard. Are you telling me Northwestern beats the Ohio State? All those 3 things happen? Michigan at 7. That's a clear path to the number 4 basket. Correct, Desmond? Am I wrong?
Yeah, it looks that way. I mean, and that's what a lot of people, who
for real.
Who root for. Yeah, I mean, that's how it's potentially looking. And I've heard that scenario tossed out several times. And, I mean, I think it's obviously, percentage-wise, a very small percentage that this would take place.
It's like Dumb and Dumber. You're saying we've got a chance?
But we've got a chance. We've got a chance, my friend. Yes, sir.
That's the way it looks.
It appears that way.
That the Wolverines, despite giving up a 60-burger in the game that they were supposed to win, it was the should have, had to win, needed to win, should win. They have, if all of those results happen, sitting on their couch, the ability to not even win the Big Ten championship game and be the 4th seed. Desmond, is that really what this college football playoff committee is telling Wolverine fans and the rest of the world?
They need a lot of help, but we've seen a similar scenario before, I believe, with Ohio State and Penn State, where Penn State beat Ohio State head-to-head. Penn State won the Big Ten championship, but some odd way Ohio State ended up getting in that year, even though they sat at home and watched the Big Ten championship that Saturday afternoon. So we've seen a similar scenario take place before.
That would be nuts, Desmond. And
that would be bananas, man.
And I do want to ask you this question, the few minutes I have left with you, Desmond. On behalf of all the Wolverines who look to people like you and Charles, Brady, the GOATs, Hutch, what's happening? What happened on Saturday, and what is happening in this rivalry where Michigan can't buy it right now, Desmond?
Wow. That last Saturday was a shock to everybody. I think even the Wolverines. I think Don Brown was shocked, and I can't just put everything in one basket. Like, we can't beat them. I mean, 2 years ago, we were inches away from beating Ohio State, and a lot of people said that we got screwed on that 4th down call with J.T. Barrett, that Michigan should have won that game, or Michigan did win that game, but we got screwed on the call. So, but this was a little different because of the defense, and you just never expected the defense to go out there and Ohio State's offense to put like 55 points on the defense.
I know, but it's also
one was a block punt for a touchdown too. I know they scored 62, but one was a block punt. So that was a special team touchdown. Go ahead.
It's not just that though, Desmond. It's like some kid that's never caught a pass before, some freshman suddenly dominating, and so that's why I'm wondering, like, where's our freshman? Like, Haskins came off the bench last year and won the game. Like that, I mean, these are the questions that are being asked, right? It's very difficult questions, and I understand I'm asking it to you. I don't know if you have an answer, but what is there an answer as to what the problem is?
Well, I mean, I think from a recruiting standpoint, it seems like they have some players out there who are ready to participate and play immediately and be impactful. I don't think that they're asking these guys to do anything special. They're not asking these guys to go out there and win games, but it's like, can you run a crossing route? Can you run a out and up, or really simple routes. But what happened is Ryan Day, the offensive coordinator, he got the matchups that he was looking for on our man-to-man coverage, and guys just going out there playing pitch and catch and running around and making some plays at the end of the day. So in my opinion, I think they were, on film. I mean, on the field, they looked faster. These guys were some fast guys they had, especially on the perimeter. And they did the simple things that Coach Day asked of them. But to me, from a recruiting standpoint, you're going to have to recruit some speed so you can contend with some of these guys if you're going to play that sort of man-to-man. But they did a great job schematically of going after certain players and doing certain things on offense that kept our defense on its heels.
Well, I guess that this whole conversation will look moot anyway when Alabama and Texas and Northwestern all win, and Michigan gets in and beats Nick Saban, and then they take revenge on Notre Dame or maybe beat Clemson and win it all anyway. Desmond, right?
There you go. Exactly. That's the one that we're hoping for. And one more thing is, but is this who Ohio State is, though? Like, to me, that's the big question. Like, because we haven't seen that sort of performance the whole year. So I'm still trying to figure out, is this really who they are, or did some guys just play over their heads one afternoon when their backs were against the wall, they're a home underdog, and they're playing against their rival. Like, there's some guys just rise to the occasion and play over their heads. Because the fact of the matter is, where was this against Purdue? Where was this against Michigan State? How about Maryland? How about Nebraska? Like, you've never really seen these guys. So I can't have a knee-jerk reaction, Rich, and say, man, these guys are just completely outstanding. I need to see it consistently before I can say, yeah, these guys just blow you away with, their talent. Because if you got this type of talent, then why do you lose by almost 30 points to Purdue? Why do you struggle against a Nebraska team? Why do you struggle up in East Lansing against Michigan State? And then the list goes on and on and on. So it's hard for me to just say these guys are exceptional across the board and the skill positions. I knew that Haskins was one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the Big Ten when it comes to just throwing the ball. There's no doubt about that. But all these other guys, they haven't shown up on Saturdays. But it seemed like they all showed up on the same day at the same time and had an outstanding performance.
They did. Last one for you, Des. Does Tua get your Heisman vote right now?
I like to let the championship games play out also, and just watch everyone, because I think that Kyler Murray is an exceptional talent. I thoroughly enjoy watching this young man play. I think he's a better passer than people give him credit for. I mean, when you have a guy like that, Rich, that's so electric and so dynamic out in space, people get wooed by that because he just leaves guys just standing still looking ridiculous. And I think they don't really pay a lot of attention to how he throws the ball. But I think he's a really underrated passer, too.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's still a trophy left, because I think Baker Mayfield just handed the Heisman to Hugh Jackson this past week. If you saw that, Desmond, I think that's already done. The Heisman's already.
Yeah, I did see that. I saw that.
It's already, Hugh's already got it. Baker gave it out, gave him the Heisman.
I saw that. I was born and raised in Cleveland, so I pay attention to the Browns. So, yeah, I did see that.
Oh, yeah. Des, really loved the chat, and I'm there for you for the draft. You know that. Whatever you need.
My God. All right.
Whatever you need.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you more. Thanks for calling in, Desmond. That's Desmond Howard. Check out College Game Day. He's heading there right now. He's going to Atlanta, as they're going to be there for the SEC championship game.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.